Hey everyone, it's Taylor Knight with TK On Demand. Today we're going to be speaking with Hannah Williams from Salary Transparent Street. You may have seen her before with her viral videos on TikTok where she asks people in the DMV area what's their salary. I know that's a bit of a taboo conversation, but Hannah is ready to get down and ask these people the questions and get their answers. So we're going to let her in right now. She's here, ready to answer your questions. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, write it in the comment box below so we can make sure we are as engaged as possible today. So we're going to send Hannah a request to get this party started. Alrighty, she's joining us right now, everybody. So don't forget to ask any questions in the comment box so we can find out what she's all about. Hi, Hannah.
Hello. Hi, Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad I figured this out. This is my first Instagram Live.
And you're doing better than me because half of my forehead is cut off. And I'm like, all right, let's reposition my forehead here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, sorry for my literal bare background. We're redecorating.
No, it's okay. Honestly, if you hear my dog bark, just don't mind that either. I have like treats right here I'm feeding him with to keep him quiet. All right, you'll get these treats after we're done here.
Yeah, smart. I should have gave my dog something. So yeah, on the same page.
So I understand. So thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. And honestly, I came across my TikTok page and I was like, what is this? And I was like, Salary Transparent Street, what is this all about? And then when you started asking people how much they're making and how honest they were with you, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild. Like, I think that it's funny because there's really no originality behind it, right? Like, it's a simple question. It's not like I'm asking something totally crazy that we haven't heard before. It's just the fact that I think I was just the ballsiest person to ask strangers on the street.
Yeah, because I know even now, like, it's like, oh, should I ask them? Oh, I'm curious, especially in your own field too. You want to know those questions, but another point is sometimes social media, I feel like, has such a kind of like a fantasy world that lets you make people think, you know, I'm not making enough. Like, how come I'm not making as much as that nurse is or this nurse? But it's like, hey, sometimes they, you know, they're faking it so they make it too, or they're just making it work what they got.
Yeah, and also like one of the things that I hope the series is educating people about is that it's not all about like what that person makes. There's so many factors that contribute to that, which is like the biggest one is cost of living and where they live. Like I live in the DMV area, so all of my videos have been DMV related so far, but I mean, we are going on a national tour this summer, so bear with me, more states coming. But for this area, it's absolutely ridiculous, the cost of living. And so I kind of feel a little bit bad that some people watch it and compare themselves because that's not what I want them to do. I want them to be like, oh, I need to learn how much I should be making because I live in a totally different area and I could make like what that number sounds like, which could be like six figures here is 60,000 in Idaho, and it's still a lot of money, you know. I'm hoping that I can push people to like educate themselves and not compare themselves because that's really not what we should be doing.
And I agree that I feel like a lot of people realize like, wow, that person's making that much. I can be making that. And where I live, and it's giving you a better idea of what the average really is in your field. Because sometimes people go off of Indeed or Glassdoor and it's like, oh, okay, these salaries are based off of like 2005. Like, times have changed, you know. So they're doing great.
Yeah, there's like no good resource out there. And like the one good resource is actually talking to your colleagues or talking to people who you know are like in your network around you. That's who we need to be talking about. So if we can really pull the taboo from having these conversations by me doing it with strangers on the street, I will take that bullet for everyone else to try to make this conversation more comfortable for people that we know and should trust.
Yes. So what made you decide to start Salary Transparent Street? Like, what gave you the idea, you know what, I'm going to do this?
It's so funny. I have a personal TikTok account called Stocks and Squats, and I started posting on there like a couple months ago about my own career journey. So I've only been working for like 3 years. I feel like I've been doing it for forever, but it's really not been that long. So I graduated May 2019. And I never knew what I wanted to do, never knew what I wanted to study. And so I job hopped a lot over those 3 years. And because I job hopped a lot, I got the question all the time, like, what are your salary expectations and roles and stuff? I never knew what to say. So because I did it so much, I kind of knew what to baseline myself off of, but
Mhm.
by what other companies were accepting. So I increased my salary from like 40K to 115K just because I knew like what those budgets were.
Yes.
But you know, if you're not job hopping as aggressively as I was, and I don't recommend it for everyone, it's not always a good idea, you don't have that number. And
Yeah.
so I started talking on TikTok about how much I made in each role, and people were like, we need this. Like, salary transparency has to happen. And I was like, I don't have any power to ask corporations to make this
Mhm.
happen. But, you know, kind of decide to make that happen on our own, and we remove the taboo and we make that
Mhm.
acceptable, then I think that we're going to be cooking with something.
And I agree, like, to everything you just said, especially with job hopping. I feel like the
Yeah.
older generations tend to look down on job hopping, but I did a little job hopping myself, and I saw where it helped. I definitely saw where it
Yeah.
helped because you have a better idea of what you should expect for yourself or what you are willing to fight for yourself too. So,
Absolutely.
I,
And like, how are you supposed to know when you're in college what you want to do without the experience? Like, I thought that there were so many things I wanted to do. And then once I started doing them, I was like, I don't want to do that. This is actually the opposite of what I want to do. And so I hate that there's this stigma that if you job hop, you look disloyal and stuff. And I'm like, no, we're all just trying to figure it out and playing the game.
especially because college doesn't even teach you like how to negotiate, how to like all these different things. You're just like, college never taught me, so how am I
No.
supposed to know? Like, I'm like reading articles like how to negotiate and like
Yeah. Everyone's talking about it now. And I'm just like, you know, you learn everything you need for your career field in college. But no, I never had a single course on how to negotiate, how to understand my health insurance, my benefits, my PTO. Now people are talking about negotiating your PTO and like your vacation time. And I'm like, I never even knew I could do that.
neither. I wish I knew because
Yeah.
I love to travel and take off sometimes. So I'm like, oh, let's do this.
Exactly. And so it's like we're realizing that you can basically construct the life that you want. You can figure out what those fields are that make it acceptable for you to have different things like travel, remote work, you know, don't go
Mhm.
be a bus driver if you want to work remote, you know, but being informed about things like that. And I think the series is giving light to different professionals or professions that people never thought of before. So I'm hoping they're finding what they're looking for.
And what do you feel like allows your audience, or I guess your participants, to be so transparent with you? Like with a random person they're meeting on the street, like, I'm going to tell you how much I'm making. What do you feel that you do to give
Yeah.
them that energy?
You know, I think it's just good energy, really. Like I
Yes.
approach people, you know, like I don't do I love Daniel Mack. I don't know if he gets permission. He has to get permission before, but I always get permission before I film people, so I approach them, you know, usually they recognize me or they're like, I know you from somewhere, you know, so that kind of helps with a little bit of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell them what we're about, you know, and I say that talking about your pay is important and it helps everyone. And I think that the good energy just speaks for itself and they know what to expect. So they're willing to talk. But
And
I
that's
get that. I get people who don't want to talk either.
but you get so many people though, because I know
Mm.
even sometimes as a journalist myself, it's hard to get those interviews sometimes. So like the
Oh,
fact that you're able to knock so many out,
yeah.
kudos.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, I got so burnt on my face the other day because we were out in like National Harbor and out there for like 2 hours on a corner. And I went
Ooh.
home and I was like, I'm a tomato. But I
But
do it for the people. Yeah.
but it's worth it at the end. All the things that you're educating people on and to see like the
Yeah.
results of it is like amazing.
Yeah, it makes me happy to do it. So I like quit my full-time job to do it. Like
Wow.
I am just
Dedicated.
excited. Yeah, you know, I just always wanted to break free from the man, as I like to call it. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work for myself. That was the one thing. And so I never knew what that would be, and I've just been trying to figure it out from there. And I'm just so happy that I found something that I can do that I'm also really passionate about, because we all bullshit about our jobs like that. We're passionate about it, but like how many people really are, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm happy I found that.
And I think the more entrepreneurs I talk to, it's always interesting to see where that passion just randomly appears in front of them. It's like, wow, this was
Yeah.
something I really enjoy doing. I never realized I could make it into a whole career, and that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
So, hey,
Yeah.
other people out there, your passion was going to come. Eventually, it's going to pop up in front of you. And you're like, wow, so I do want to be an event planner or something and make the most of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I think that the series is really like opening people's eyes to that too. Like they're like, oh, I never knew about this. And now they do research and oh my gosh, we've got so many more resources coming. Like we're working on a podcast, we have a newsletter
Nice.
out. So like all the resources, I'm just gonna be throwing them at you.
And we're ready to catch him.
Yeah, right. Hopefully.
And do you feel like social media creates a false like narrative of what the average person makes from like doing all these interviews? Like, do you feel like, wow, social media kind of is lying?
Yeah.
In a sense.
It's a fickle cat, you know, and I think that that kind of goes into this perception of like social media lying to us a little bit, and like
Yeah.
you see flashy things and you think people have money, but I mean, I want to see people's budgets. That's what I want to see. And so that really, I've just learned a lot, I think, in the past few years that you can't connect your pay or anyone's pay with their value or really anything. Like it says nothing about their intelligence or their worth or what they bring to society. Like someone making $15 an hour could be the best person in the world, and you'll have someone who's a millionaire who should not have that money. And so one thing that I guess a negative of the series is that I see all the comments, and there are some really horrible comments that demonstrate this negativity and stuff, and how we associate pay with different people and who's worthy of it and whether or not they deserve more and all of that. And so that's the ugly side of social that I see. But really, it's just social media lying to us. Like, just worry about yourself, worry about
That's
your
it.
budget. Yeah, worry about your finances, worry about whether or not you're happy and satisfied with what you make. Don't compare yourself to others.
Agreed 100%. Because sometimes people like have these expectations and comparison definitely can bring people down, but sometimes it can bring you up too, because you realize when you
Yeah.
see someone in your field making
Mhm.
like over 50,000 more than you're like, wow, there's
Yeah.
more out there. Or someone who's making, I'm gonna shoot right now, $300,000. You're like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
money's out there for me too to make. So how can I, get to those things?
Yeah, it's so inspiring. And I love that there's like all this TikTok, like so many people in niche professions who are talking about this. And I'm like, you're inspiring a whole generation of people.
Yes.
Like, I love to see it.
What career salary has surprised you the most?
Oh, teachers. Teachers broke my heart a little bit because I don't I don't know. So it's gone really low and really high, and we've seen that in the videos. And what's interesting is most of the time we're all in the same area. Like really high salaries for teachers. Like I had one teacher from DC who was in the Maryland area, but she made like I think it was 102 or something.
Wow.
And yeah, right. And she was at a DC public school, you know, and but also cost of living. This is such an expensive area. And she'd been doing it for like 17 years or something. So I was like, those are all things that are so important to consider in the grand scheme of things. But you know, it was shocking. And then I would interview someone the next day who's a teacher in the same generic area, and they're making like 20,000. Like there was a secondary school teacher or a kindergarten teacher or something who was making like 20 or 30. And I'm like, so cost of living makes sense, but then same cost of living, that doesn't make sense, you know? So it just, to me, it broadens my mind to there's a major problem with pay and how that differs across states for the same thing that you do. Like everyone should be, if the argument is equal pay, equal opportunity, we're not seeing that with teachers right now.
No. Yeah, not at all. I would say the most surprising salary for me watching was the flight attendants. That was like, oh my gosh, like
they were awesome.
Yeah, they were so like open and honest, also so fun too on camera. But I was just like, wow, like that's so crazy too to hear. Like that's what people are being paid out here, and that's like the average in a sense for that industry too. Because even for journalists don't make a lot of money at all actually, and it's very like disheartening to say. Like there's a big like conversation that a few journalists on different like journalist pages and channels are trying to work on right now, but hopefully something changes in a few years or something within society.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like there was a physical tech assistant or something. Basically, like she had to do that job to become a physical therapist. And she said she made like $15 an hour. And I'm like, the Wendy's down my street is hiring for like 20.
Exactly.
So,
you're like,
and she's in school, you know, she has to get her bachelor's to do this. If she wants to advance, she has to get a master's. Think about all that debt and the time it's just ridiculous to me. Like we need to do young people in America better, I think. Like everyone needs to make a living wage, but like this minimum wage is just ridiculous.
And then what would you say is transparent salaries goal? Well, salary
Yeah.
transparency's
Oh
goal.
yeah, it's a whole mouthful. I just call it STS to shorten it for me now.
STS. What is STS's goal?
Yeah. We have so many goals. It really bridges a gap. Like for people in our community, we just want to educate. We want to encourage them with resources to advocate for themselves, learn how to negotiate your salary, how to do market research to ensure that you're asking for the right thing, learn how to network, and we give you those resources to network. We have a LinkedIn professional group that you can join, connect with other like-minded people, share your salaries, help everybody. But then really the bigger goal that I just like am fingers crossed I can achieve is honestly to pressure corporate America to get on board. I think that once we as a community and as a society agree that we need to be talking about this and it's important, the same way that we were advocating for work from home and all these benefits that came as a result of COVID or the pandemic, now we need to just transition that conversation over to corporate America and put pressure on them to include pay transparency across their entire department, across their organization, so everybody knows. You should be able to know that I have a master's degree and that's why I make more than Ken, who does the same work, but I am a little bit more skilled and that allows me to have 5K more, and that should be a comfortable conversation to have within organizations. We don't work for free. We need to realize that and realize that pay is one of the top factors in our entire professional career, and the fact that we're so scared to talk about it makes no sense to me. So I think good things will come once that happens.
And even just like seeing, as you're saying all this, the people in the comments are so engaged with you.
Yes.
Like they're like, I love Hannah, I love STS. Like they're in love with what you're doing, because again, you're breaking a taboo. Like when I came across your first set of videos, I was saying to my mom, like, Mom, look at this, look at that, look at this. Like, I think it reaches people of all ages, not even just young people, older people, just everybody who's working. Yeah. Even probably teenagers who are having like a summer part-time job probably are like, hey, I can negotiate myself too. I think it's just opening so many people's minds, perspectives, and breaking that taboo. So hey,
I'm
you're
excited.
making your mark for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like when I quit my job, I work with a lot of older, I'm only 25, so anyone over like 35 is a lot older to me, but they are like so into it, and I'm just like, wow, like they're older, and they're into it. That says a lot. And then we went to a mall one time, and these like 3 teenage girls ran out of a Starbucks and were like, we know you. And I was like, I can't interview you because you're not 18, but like here's a sticker, and they were so excited. And I was like, the impact that's going to have on them when they join the workforce is so enormous, because they're the ones that are going to be demanding these things, and it's just a matter of time before it's normalized. I'm just so excited.
So what's next? I know you mentioned there's a podcast maybe on the way. I know you're a tour. Give us more.
Oh my God, there's so much. I'm like, my brain is so busy now, but in the best way. So we have a newsletter. It comes out every Sunday. You can sign up for that at our Stand store, which is basically our website. That's free. So every Sunday newsletter. We're working on a podcast. So we're basically going to do a What Do You Do podcast, where we do a Q&A interview that's in the newsletter, and then we expand on it with a podcast interview with all different types of career fields. So I'm pretty sure we have a independent artist, an astronaut, a professional athlete, a college athlete, like all of those are on the board. So that's what we're going to be profiling. Yeah, it's exciting. We're also going to do a podcast talking about career trends, like important things to be aware of, like what are unions? I learned about it in school, but like I still don't really understand it. And I feel like we need to give those topics a platform. Like, how do you understand your health insurance? What's a 401k? These are all things I didn't learn in school that someone needs to talk about in a way that I understand, because it's not making sense to me right now. But yeah, so that, and then we're going on a nationwide tour this summer. So we're going to hit all 50 states, all the capitals, all surrounding areas. Yeah, so if anyone listening, has an idea for a place you'd like to see profiled, or an event you'd like us to come to, let us know, because we're taking tips. I don't know the whole country, so I'll take any help where I can get it. let me think. What else do we have?
Do you have like a calendar coming out with all those 50 states? So I know where to come just look to see, like, hopefully hit the Wall Street area, see what they're making over there. Be like, wow.
New York is actually possibly this weekend. That's
okay.
that's a little tip. We're gonna see if we can travel. You know, the weather has been screwing with me lately. Like every weekend is bad, and I'm like, that's the only time I can travel. So I need it to work with me. But you know, I am kind of in a weird way afraid to put out my location when I'm there, just because I'm like, you know, there's some weird people. There's a lot of good people, but there's
definitely
also
want to
some
protect
weird people. Yeah, so I think it's just going to be if you see us, make sure you come and say hey, because we'd love to talk to you.
That's a good point too, because yeah, I definitely agree. That's probably the better choice too.
You know, there's some weird people on the internet. I haven't met them yet, but I've heard bad enough stories to
that it's like,
protect
let's
myself
avoid it as much as we can. Yeah, understood.
Exactly.
Well, I'll send you some events over. There's a bunch happening
Please.
in New York, so I'll definitely send that to you afterwards.
Awesome. And like, I know one of the good ones I got was New York City Pride Parade.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh!
I am hyped.
Come! Oh my gosh!
I'm excited. I've never been, so I'm just like,
it'll be an experience for you, and then also great content. Like the people like, oh my gosh, there's Hannah. So
yeah, I'm so happy. Like, not only do I get to do this, I also get to travel and go to events and things that I never would have been able to do before. So I'm living the dream.
Oh, well, congratulations on all of that. So people, you see, Hannah is busy. Hannah is giving you guys a transparency. Hannah is traveling. Hannah's just doing it all.
I'm trying. Oh my gosh, I'm running a mile a minute.
And you're doing great. You are doing great. Let me get some of these questions.
Yeah, let's answer the questions.
All right, let's see this one. How do you negotiate PTO?
Ooh, that one's tough. I mean, it's really exactly the same thing as you would navigate negotiating your salary. When you say what you want, you would say, I want X amount. And, you know, you would understand beforehand how many days of PTO they offer. So if they're offering like 10, you'd be like, well, you know, I can make like a $2,000, like minus of my salary, and ask for a couple extra days of PTO to make up for it. So like, that's how you balance it. It's basically just realizing what the cost and the benefit is and what you want. Just ask for it. You'll never know unless you ask for it.
True. That's so true. I know sometimes people are like, oh, I'm too nervous, but it's like the worst is a yes or no. Like either going to say no or they say yes, and you move on.
How to negotiate? Just ask for it. It's that simple.
And we have another question. Is STS for individual gain, or do you see it correlated to unionizing?
For individual gain, I mean, it's not about me. So I'm turning this into like a big media company. Like that's my vision for it, is that this is going to be just a really big educational resource for people. So it's going to be a big old company. Like I see it kind of like a Morning Brew type, you know, marketplace idea, where we would just refer you to really helpful resources. But unionizing, like we're going to talk about unionizing, but I'm not unionizing because I run my own business. So I'm paying myself well. $0 so far, but we're getting there.
We'll get there.
Right.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us today, giving us all this information. Obviously, the people love you because they're just going. They're like giving each other tips.
So
like
nice.
It's definitely a community in here. Like people are answering their own questions with another person. So hey, you definitely have a tribe of people here who love what you're doing.
It's beautiful. I love to see it. I mean, that's the only thing, is I want to bring people together so we can help each other. We will get where we need to go if we help each other. If we're gatekeeping and trying to go it alone, we're not going to get anywhere.
Nope. Agreed. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share with our viewers before we sign out today?
Nothing from me, but you know, every single day there's a new Salary Transparent Street video. So just keep an eye out for updates on new things that we're going to be releasing and ways that we can help you. So that's it.
So you guys make sure to follow her on Instagram, TikTok, sign up for the newsletter, wait for the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Do what you got to do to be in the loop of what STS has going on for y'all.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely day and good luck this weekend with your content.
Thank you, Taylor. Thanks for having me. This was
no
awesome.
problem. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in for another segment with TK On Demand. It's been such a pleasure to have you all here today. And you guys don't forget to go check out Hannah at Salary Transparent Street, where she gives you all the information on how to negotiate, how to make sure you're getting paid right, and just everything about salaries. Alrighty, have a great day, y'all.